Hi everyone, Adrian Groenewald of Global Leadership Platform, and this is the Global Leadership Conversation 1. It's part of the series where we talk to leadership experts and facilitators and influencers all over the world. We've done it on all the continents, and at the moment it is about the global leadership crisis and what we need to do, what qualities we need to awaken or develop in leaders if we're going to turn this around. With me today is Andreas Schaal. He's a Director of Client Solutions at the Arbinger Institute of South Africa. And he's been involved in leadership development, shall we say, for a long time now, but not only from this angle, also from the corporate side, having been with Schaal before. So, Andreas, good to have you with us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Adrian. Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Andreas, here we go. Global Leadership Conversation 1. We have our 3 questions for you that we've asked experts all over the world. It's starting to become clear, and we may shift to Global Leadership Conversation 2 very soon. The first question we have is, how would you describe the global leadership crisis? If indeed you think there's a crisis, we know there's pockets of excellence, obviously. We're not saying it's all crisis, doom and gloom like climate change or whatever, but in essence, from what angle would you come? How would you define it?
Thanks, Adrian. Yeah, that's a good question. I would say I would call the global leadership crisis the leadership paradox. In other words, those who need help most don't think they do, right? We could therefore also call it the, blindness paradox. In other words, where you're the problem and you don't know it. So the question for me is what to do. So here's a couple of thoughts. Firstly, there's a good chance that many leaders in the world have a problem. How do I know this? Well, because I have this problem too. I'm guilty of this blindness paradox. What happens when we have a problem, but we are actually blind to it? So leaders who are most in need of help often resist the very notion that they could be part of the problem. Now in Arbinger, we talk about this problem of not knowing that I have a problem in their book, Leadership and Self-Deception. So the question is, can you see self-deception? Well, people don't respond to what we say or even how we say it as much as they respond to their sense of how we regard them. And that regard is either as a person or as an object. Yeah? And that is why, despite high-level leadership development or the use of governing tools and techniques to engage with others, we can fail to be as effective as our education suggests we should be. Right? In fact, when others don't respond the way we think they should do due to our skills in leadership, we are convinced they are the problem. Yeah, not recognizing that the dissonance being created is from their sense of how we truly regard them. Now, it gets even worse, Adrian. Most of us don't realize we see them this way, right? It is therefore imperative that we understand how easily and often we objectify people and learn instead to see people as people.
Okay, so if I hear you correctly, in my sort of layman term almost, the problem we have, the global leadership crisis, stems from leaders who have a problem not realizing they have a problem.
Indeed.
And objectifying people or the way we view people in reality. And in my simple terms, I just say, do I see myself as more important than people around me because I have a title? Probably part of the problem, but that's well defined, and it makes sense to me. We can have a significant problem when Donald Trump or Cyril Ramaphosa or Vladimir Putin have a problem in how they lead, but they don't see it themselves. And of course, you and I can have a long conversation about why that's the case. I mean, you've got title, you've got power, you've got position over people. You influence their future, so they say to you what they think you want to hear. They say to you what sounds good or what makes them look good. And there's so many barriers between title and people that prevent us from actually finding out who we really are and how we come across.
Exactly.
And what we do. Okay, so let's say that's the essence of the global leadership crisis. So therefore, my question, standard one, is what is the most important quality or attribute we need to develop or awaken or improve in leaders if we are going to turn around this leadership crisis, the one everyone else talks about, but the one that you just defined? What's that top quality that leaders need to bring out?
Sure. Sure, thanks for that, Adrian. Let me start there. I think people often use mindset to refer to a core belief about oneself, right? But that's far too narrow a focus. I think the biggest lever for change is not a change merely in self-belief, but a fundamental change in the way people see and regard their connections and obligations to others, what we just mentioned earlier, right? So the mutual impact people have on one another turns on whether they carry a self-focused inward mindset or an impact-focused outward mindset. Now, when you look in organizations, changing from that inward to an outward mindset unlocks a whole new level of collaboration, innovation, and responsiveness among individual teams and the organization itself. Now, here's what a study at McKinsey and Company found. And they found that organizations that identify and address pervasive mindsets at the outset are 4 times more likely to succeed in organizational change efforts than are companies that overlook this stage. Now, leaders are critical to this effort because when a leader shifts to an outward mindset, they naturally invite the rest of the organization to follow. Yeah? And when an organization is operating from an outward mindset, the dynamic shifts from individual to collective results and from singular gain to mutual reciprocity, ultimately resulting in a far better and sustained performance.
Okay, so just define to me then, what is the top quality or attribute? Is it the ability to be outward focused? Is
correct?
That the
it's
top
ability, indeed. It's ability to have that regard and see people as people, right? And move from that inward mindset, which we define as a very much self-focused mindset. It's all about me. I come to work thinking about what I need to achieve and what's important to me, to a mindset that takes others into account, that my focus shifts from doing things that are important to me to ultimately recognizing how do I impact others and what can I do, how can I direct my efforts to help those around me succeed, thereby ultimately also succeeding myself, right? So it becomes about my results to our collective results. Does that make sense?
So yeah, I mean, it's simple. So I just call all the leaders into a room and say, guys, from now on, I want an outward mindset, okay, not an inward one. but
indeed,
obviously that leads into the third question. Jokes aside, it's that mind shift change, that paradigm shift, whatever you want to call it. How do you best develop, awaken, or improve this quality of outward focus or outward mindset in leaders? So you've got a bunch of leaders, 10, 20 leaders, you're taking them on a journey. I know you can't take us through the detail, but in essence, how do you get them to shift from my career, my future, I want that office, I want that package, I want that status? A lot of leaders, I think they get there. Yeah. They go on a journey, they go on a program, they come back to the busy, hectic work lifestyle, and then they think they've changed in that way until the pressure mounts again, and then it's about me. So how do you truly get that change to happen?
Indeed. And those two mindsets, the inward and outward, are at play in any situation throughout any day or week or month, right? We continuously have those two mindsets, and it's always a choice which one do I ultimately operate from. So here's how James Farrell, who's one of the best-selling authors and managing partners of the Arbinger Institute, put it, right? So to start shifting mindset and jumpstart this transformation, leaders should ask themselves questions in ultimately 4 essential areas. And each plays a key role in leading this organizational change. So let's start with the first one. First one would be question your privilege. So ask yourself questions about how leaders position themselves in your organization. In other words, do I need the prime parking spot, the best office space, right? Enlist colleagues in this self-examination. Do we segregate ourselves in different cafeterias or more preferred parts of the building? Can the perks that the few enjoy be made available to others, right? Can any trappings or big shotness be removed? And if we treat and pay ourselves generously, are we appropriately generous as well with our employees? Right? That would be number 1. Okay. Number 2, consider the experiences of others. So actively question the traditions and practices in your organizations. For instance, allow yourself to be guided by questions that prompt a careful consideration of the experience of others throughout the organization. Question what it's like to be an employee in your company. Yeah? Do your employees feel valued? Do they feel understood? Do they feel appreciated by leadership? What distinctions in the workplace might be troubling to them? What distinctions might make them feel less important? Yeah. Number 3, aim to collapse distinctions. Now start to consider what adjustments might be helpful, asking questions such as, what can we do to help others understand how we value and appreciate them? What can we do to more fully understand others' viewpoints and concerns? What trappings of leadership currently exist in the organizations? And which of these make good business sense? Which of these trappings do not help the business? Yeah, which of these should we stop? What can we do to collapse the distinctions between leaders and others in the organization? And fourthly, start to measure and reassess. Now, let's consider how you will measure the impact of these changes and continuously reassess the distinctions that arise. Yeah? What can we do to stay more fully connected to employees? What can we do to ensure that we collect and stay open to feedback and suggestions from people at all levels of the organization? How can we continuously check ourselves as leaders to make sure that we are not letting unnecessary distinctions separate us from others? Now, asking these questions gives you as a leader the knowledge and understanding you need to shift to an outward mindset, right? Only then you're equipped to make a game plan, right? And start the process of changing mindset in your organization. Because the power of an outward mindset is that it generates the kind of trust, transparency, and cohesion between people and between teams that helps ultimately organizations grow over the long term. Now, I would say in summary, rather than being a quick fix, it's a total approach to change. Far more than about a behavior, it gets to the heart of what truly drives remarkable creativity and performance.
Andreas, so let me ask you this. If I honestly get to know myself, if I honestly become comfortable within my own skin, if I honestly discover my true self, who I am, my best self that I always say, I'm of the opinion that I would then automatically become more outward focused. I might need to be prompted, reminded, whatever, but it's a habit change. But honestly, if I'm comfortable inside myself, then I don't have to always worry about what people think of me. I don't always have to worry about myself. I'm now comfortable. I can actually focus on Andreas now. I can listen to him, not think about myself and how I'm coming across, and am I coming across confident, or am I this, am I that? It's not about me. Me is comfortable. Now it's about you. Would you say yes to that to some degree, or?
I would say yes and no, because it's not only about being comfortable myself, right? It's about assessing what impact, how do I see others? And that might sound very simple, but it's actually quite deep psychology behind it. And Arbinger Institute invested more than 40 years of psychological research behind it to develop this and understand this problem of self-deception. Because I might be comfortable in myself, right? But the way I see, let's say you, Adrian, I can easily point you and see you as an object. I feel very comfortable, right? I feel comfortable in myself, but I would see you, if you serve a certain purpose to me, right? If you just deliver certain information, then I'm seeing you as an object, because you only add value to me if you give me this information. But if I choose to see you as a person, at that moment, I become alive to a host of new things. Like, what are you interested in? What are you challenged by? What are you trying to achieve? What are your objectives? Now, I can still feel uncomfortable in myself, right? But the moment I start to see you as a person, equally as important as me, a whole new dimension opens up, right?
Yeah, see, I believe again that I can discover a certain part of myself and feel comfortable about myself because I've achieved so well in life, or I can feel comfortable about myself because of my real best self. I think if I truly discover who I am, it's going to open my eyes to who you are. if I think I'm comfortable with myself, but I still think I'm more important than you, then I haven't discovered my real self yet and my potential. So for me,
potentially, right? Yeah,
deeper potentially. But I hear what you're saying. I mean, I watched a documentary on Bill Gates, and they interviewed Warren Buffett in the process because they seem to be good friends. And of course, he's given half his billions to what's his? I just mentioned to Bill Gates, and they said, why did you do that? And what made you do that? And he said, once you come to the realization, I'm using my own words, that all human beings are equal.
Yeah.
It changes your behavior. It changes what you do with your money. It changes everything you do. And that was, I think, in his own words, the essence of what you're saying. Yeah. I've got to realize that I am equal to this floor sweeper, this tea lady, the president of South Africa. It doesn't matter.
Indeed.
My title doesn't make me more or less equal. Thank you so much, Andreas Schaal. I mean, that was a powerful contribution to the Global Leadership Conversation 1, Global Leadership Conversation 1. We're trying to understand the global leadership crisis and your angle that you come from, where leaders have a problem, but they don't know they have it. And of course, when you're at the top, why would you have a problem? The world says you're successful. So it's a fascinating topic, and we really appreciate it. Director, Client Solutions, Arbinger Institute of South Africa, and Andreas Schaal, we appreciate your time. All the best, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.